Have you ever wondered whether the problems in the world today would exist if we had deeper connection to ourselves, others, and the environment and acted from that place?
Welcome to the Conscious Action Podcast with your hosts Brian Berneman and Kayla Greenville, who believe that connection is the key to taking conscious action as individuals and creating a better world.
We are here to raise awareness and inspire meaningful action by sharing stories, knowledge, and conversations with thought leaders and change makers.
From sustainability to well-being and everything related to conscious living, our mission is to empower you to be the change that you want to see in the world.
Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of the Conscious Action Podcast. I am Brian Berneman, your host, and I have the pleasure to be joined all the way from Canada by Roxanne Chaput. Thank you so much, Roxanne, for being here and for sharing this space with us. And for everyone that is listening and watching us, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today, Brian. It is truly an honor. So my name is Roxanne Chaput, and I am a celestial guide, celestial and generational earth shaman, as well as a inspirational speaker and host of Soul to Soul with Roxanne, which is an amazing show on our soul and self-mastery journey.
Beautiful. So thanks again for being here. And can you share a little bit on how did this come about? Like a little bit in your story and your own journey. Like, were you since a little kid connected to this, or was this something that you started to discover?
Absolutely. Ever since I was a little girl, I just had this profound knowingness that I was being called to serve. And I really just didn't understand the capacity of what that was going to look like, but I knew that I was being asked to serve at kind of a very grand impacted level. And I remember just trying to find connection with others, with family and friends, and asking them, like, do you have this feeling that you're being called? And they're like, no, like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I do know that I want to be a lawyer or a doctor. And I was like, oh, that's incredible. But it's something different than that. It was like this burning sensation within me that I knew that I needed to impact others. And as a child, I was always very receptive to energy. People would come to me for guidance. Even as a child, like a 5, 6-year-old child, adults were coming to me for guidance and to kind of just be in my energy presence and kind of just ask for what was their next step or what should they do in the transitional period that they were in. And my mom would always, take a step back and be like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know what's happening, but she's like, they'd always kind of refer to me as like the old soul or, the wise soul. And she would be like, you should really be a psychologist or a social worker, go into, counseling. And that just never felt in alignment with me. So I knew that I needed to impact others, and I didn't really understand that guiding others and that, being in the energy field was really my gifts. I thought everybody did this. I think when we do something, we just think that everybody does very similar things that we do because we're brought up in a society where everything is quote unquote normal, right? We're all the same. We're all very similar in the way that, our career facets, our love lives, and all those things. So I ended up going through a lot of trials and tribulations throughout my life and kind of just suppressed that aspect of myself because I couldn't find resonance with anyone. Nobody was able to confirm, like, okay, like that's not just in your head. Yes, I've had that experience too. I felt that too. This is what you need to do, and kind of give me that guidance. And, experiencing all the unhealthy relationships that I had and suppressing that aspect of myself, I ended up in a very unhealthy marriage, and I ended up leaving with my 3 beautiful children. And shortly after I left my marriage, I went through my first near-death experience out of the 4. And at that near-death experience and at that time, it was like this moment that I was always positive. I was always optimistic. I would always tell everyone, yes, I'm good. I'm like positive, like you can do this, like always in everyone's corner, cheerleading and supporting them. But I wasn't being that for myself. And when I had this first near-death experience, I realized that I wasn't in alignment, and that if my life was to end that day, was this what I wanted to be remembered for? Is this the way that I anticipated serving? and it wasn't. And that's kind of what led me down to this incredible journey of my soul and self-mastery journey.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's a very interesting thing. I share this a lot of times with a lot of my clients, is that a lot of them actually have from a young age this connection, which I believe we all have that. And we start to get conditioned out of that. We start to get educated out of that because it's not what's normal, as you said. And then we just lose touch with that, and it takes a lot of times something to spark that back, as you said in your case, like a near-death experience, or just noticing like, okay, all of these unhealthy relationships and all of these different things. And I often think like, how wonderful would it be if we actually allowed all the kids in the world to actually not lose that connection, to have, like that, out of the imaginary friends, which are for me not imaginary, and they are there. It's like allowing that magic of the unknown and that mystery to be kept alive, so that people, as you're saying, can have, if they feel like their path is that connection to the field, or that they are about impacting other people's lives in whichever way that is, with their own unique gifts and their own unique medicine, is like just allowing that to happen, instead of going through 20, 30 years, 50 years, 70 years of this other path that is not supportive.
Absolutely. And I love what you've spoken about the programming, about the innocence of the children and of our souls when we enter this incredible life form, is that we do have connection. We do understand where we are connected, and we do have that emotional connection. There is no disconnection there. And it is the evolution of time and throughout our journey is where we have those senses and those periods of disconnection where we're removed from the essence of who we are. And this is one of my greater soul's mission, is that when I haven't been called to do this quite yet, but I know that it is part of my plan, is that I want to be able to develop communities for children, to be able to teach them their gifts and abilities, for them to be able to feel safe, for them to have the freedom of choice and freedom of will to pursue what they are being called to do. When we look at children and we realize the innocence that they have instilled with them, we can learn so much from children. But when we have so much traumatic experience that happened throughout the transformation of our life, and not just, one catastrophic thing, sometimes of our trauma, it's small, minute things that build over time with the momentum of time, and they accrue on our intellectual, our emotional, our physical, our spiritual, our ethereal, and our cosmic body. We leave an imprintation. So if we can stop that patterning, we can stop that cycling before it gets to that point, we have people that are going to be in very divine connection with all the essence of who they are, and not just what they think they should be or what they should do. So that is one of my soul's mission, is to accomplish that and to build those communities.
That's so beautiful. I think it's so important to be able to create that, to just allow, as we've been talking, just allow what's already there not to get put down, and not to create. I often share to some of my students that we are walking blockages. Like,
Yep.
we have all of these blockages, and we're just walking around with them, not even noticing that we have them, and our entire life might be guided by those blockages. So everything that is happening in our circumstances, that's just touching a blockage. And because we haven't been able to process that and integrate that, we are not choosing, we're not responding to life. We are just reacting through those patterns of behavior, which are unhelpful. And a lot of times I'm like, this was in my own path as I reconnected with my body and with my feelings. And I remember once one of my teachers told me, fall in love with wanting to release those blockages. And I was like, from that moment on, I've been like in love with doing that for me, and to be able to tap into all of that energy that is part of my full potential. And it's like telling people that, like, okay, like let's go and let's do that.
And I love that because activations are really what set us on this path of being able to heal. Because unless we're activated, we can't heal those aspects because we don't know. When we don't have the knowledge and we don't have the understanding that we're being blocked, that we're fearful of change, we're fearful of being in a relationship that is worthy of our love, and that we're in a career or a facet of our soulpreneurship that we are serving humanity as we anticipated. When we have those blockages and we have those disruptions happening, it's not just happening in the intellectual body, it ends up creating the symptoms within our body that present itself in physical form. Sometimes it's anxiety, sometimes it's depression, sometimes it's body aches. It can be anything of that nature. But it's to be able to have love and compassion and grace throughout our journey, that is like, it's like taking the onion and peeling it back and getting to the sweet spot as you're kind of deactivating those things and realizing that this was a traumatic experience, like it could have been one word, like you're not that smart, or you're too smart for your own good, anything like that. And then we hold ourselves back and we restrict ourselves from reaching our full potential. It's small blockages like that that accumulate over time that really don't allow us to be the soul essence that we truly need to be in this world.
Mm. And for everyone that is listening, that perhaps, like this might be something new or different, can you share a little bit about, like what do you mean when you mean soul and when you mean that, like that energy field and that connection?
Absolutely. So I love that science has finally caught up with spirituality. So that is a massive win. It has been confirmed that we do have a soul, and that obviously we've known for a long time that we're made of energy. So our soul essence is our life essence. That is what gives us life within this incredible human form. And soul can mean so many different things to so many different people. But soul is life, and that is the life form that is instilled within us. Our energy is the biggest disposition and biggest component of who we are. Without our energy, we are not live beings. And if we are just healing at one facet, if we're only healing the mental, the intellectual component of what the symptoms are presenting itself, we're not actually healing the root of the issue. The root of the issue is in the energy field. It's the imprintation, it's the disruption that's happening that's creating the intellectual body to be sick, and then creating the emotional body to feel sick, and then creating the physical body to be sick. So it's important that we're going to all layers of our being, knowing that, we have incredible ethereal and we have incredible cosmic bodies, but this is where we see the illnesses. And it's important to remove those disruptions, and not just at a superficial level, but at the soul imprintation level of our epigenetics within our soul imprint.
Yeah, I mean, this is the understanding for me always of the holistic approach, not just focusing on one thing, because everything is connected. And the understanding, as you're saying nowadays, which is so, I think we're in a fascinating time in history here on this planet, that, yes, there's a lot of things that are really challenging, and a lot of disruption, and a lot of things that are collapsing. And at the same time, there's this understanding, as you're saying, that science is catching up to some of the ancient wisdom that is talking about all of these things and all of this connection, and the importance of doing this work with all of these different bodies that we have, or these different aspects of fractals of ourselves, that we need to actually work with all of that, because that's all part of our 3D, like earthy experience. And now, like more and more people are opening to that being true. More people are opening to doing that change. More people, either by themselves or with support of others, this is actually happening. And I see the shift in so many people in everyday life. And a lot of times, it's like, okay, what is the problems? And instead of focusing on that as a symptom, it's like, what's at the root of that? What's underneath? And that's the path.
And when we're healing at a cellular level and not just at a cellular component, we are healing the actual imprintation. So the activation is no longer there. When we are just healing one component of our being and we're continuously being activated or triggered, that means we haven't gotten rid of the root of the issue, of the disruption. So that is the importance, because if we don't rip out the root, the weed's just going to keep regrowing and regrowing and regrowing until we actually remove what is actually causing the disruption within our being. So that is why it's important for me to heal at a cellular level and to heal within the energy field, and not just at the being that we know to see, and that, you know, that we've acknowledged is that we are more than that. We are energy, and the energy is the biggest disposition within us. If we are energy, right, and we are not healing the energy, and we are not feeling in alignment with all of our bodies, we're not able to exude and to manifest and to be able to be in the laws of nature as the laws of nature have intended us. We need to be calibrated within our feminine, our masculine. We need to have duality. We need to understand that we are energy, and there's transmutations that happen. And it's the same thing with the exchanges of traumas.
Yes. And when you are talking about this cellular level that we need to work with, what does that actually look like when you're working with someone?
It can look different for everyone. And for me, this is the importance of why I needed to bring the coaching element into what I do, because I worked in healthcare for over 13 years with neuropsychologists, psychologists. I understand the intellectual body. I understand the way our cortex and our brain work, our fear of flight, all those incredible things. But what was important for me is to understand, what is our emotional body? How do we actually forgive someone? How do we go into those concepts of our true confidence, our true unconditional love, and an enlightened love for ourselves, and kind of dig a little bit deeper, understand the neurolinguistics programming that happens within our mind, our neurotransmitters, our neural pathways, and to really understand how our bodies work in synergy. Because right now, when we are having disruptions, they are working against each other. The right brain is saying one thing, the left brain is saying one thing, and they can't agree on how to actually effectively heal someone. So it's important for me as a healer is that I go to every intricate part of their layer before I go to the soul layer. The soul layer is the last layer that I do. And this is when I bring in the shamanism of what the ancient traditions that I've been taught on how to do soul retrievals, how to clear the energies within our soul, how to remove the disruptions, cut the soul contracts, cut the cord ties, and remove those limiting beliefs, and patent and lock in and seal in new belief systems within the soul essence of who they are from previous lifetimes, not just this current one.
Yes. And would you be able to share, Roxanne, a little bit more? Like, because I actually love this. I remember when I was a teenager that my mom introduced me to the work of Sandra Ingerman about soul retrieval and things like that. But for the ones that perhaps haven't heard so much about this, can you share a little bit about your experience with shamanic practices, as well as what is that?
Yeah, so shamanism, I'll start by prefacing what shamanism is that back over 100,000 years ago, and I'm sure even further back, but this is what we have to date in the scientific measurement of how long shamanism has been around on the planetary system. But we shamans have been around for over 100,000 years, and these were considered the medicine men, the medicine women, the energy healers, the energy doctors of their tribal communities throughout the world. These were the doctors of our tribal communities. There was no such thing as medical doctors. These were the doctors. And in shamanism, it's not something that you can read a book and become a shaman or go online and get a certificate. As much as that knowledge is amazing and it's incredible to understand, there is an initiation process, and there are only 3 ways that you can be a shaman. So either 1, you're born to be a shaman, 2, you are called to be a shaman, 3, you're initiated into being a shaman. And for me, it was all 3 that happened in one kind of amazing thing. And I was called by dream state, by my lineage, by my ancestry, to follow my shamanic roots.
Beautiful. And so for this, this is just my limited understanding on shamanism and shamanic practices. There's a lot of balancing, understanding alignment of the energies, understanding the elements and how we are interacting and how we are in relationship and co-creation with other beings, the elements, the space, time, and how to see life from, as we've been talking, that holistic approach. What are some of the elements that you see that from shamanism that are useful for people in their life?
Everything. There's everything in nature, any elemental process within nature, water heals our joints, our inflammation. If you go into water, you already feel the reprieve. Everyone feels better after water, as long as you don't have a fear of water. But if you have a fear, that's a traumatic experience that has transpired for you to be fearful of water. And it doesn't mean that it was in this lifetime. So water is very healing. That's the hydration of our being. Water is very important. It heals us on so many capacities and so many levels. Then we have earth. Earth grows our plant medicines, grows the vibration and the frequency that restabilizes our entire system. We have so many powerful resources, the trees, the wind, everything that we are able to breathe in is our oxygen, and we are able to use these as medicines. Fire, the element of fire, is so incredibly healing and so incredibly powerful, where we're able to actually release anything that is no longer serving us in the element of fire. Then we bring to the animal kingdom. Every animal has an incredible medicine that we can utilize in order to help facilitate our healing throughout our journey. They are to be respected. They are to be held in the highest regard because they hold the sacred medicines of true effective healing within the cellular level. And that's why we consider animal guides, totem animals, of such high importance, of such high regard. Then we have humans. We all have our own medicines within us. And this is what I'm trying to say, is that we all have our own gifts and abilities. And as we interconnect and as we build community and as we connect with one another, we're able to help each other to heal, because not one soul has the same healing medicine as another. And that is the importance, that we are all interconnected in every aspect of this world and universe and omniverse and so forth.
Mm. I love all of that, as you're saying. All of it is relevant, all of it is necessary. And, it's a lot of times I believe a lot of the things that has been part of my path and that I share with a lot of people is about this changing of perspective, of changing on our relationship with, as you're saying, even, for example, like with the directions, north, south, east, west, like up and down, is in my own practice, like understanding the different energies from those directions, understanding my relationship to them, understanding when I'm opening space, what am I doing to, have that connection and to be having that gratitude as well, and that space within me that is actually allowing for that energy to flow. And a lot of times, I think that because we have been so disconnected, as generalizing as a society, we don't even have that. We don't even have, as you're saying, that understanding that the animal, we can have that spirit animal and that guide that are animals, and instead perhaps we are treating animals as something lower or something, how can we reimagine all of these things? And how can we come back to that connection that is inherent in all things?
We need to understand that all life is life, and that life is love, and love is life, and love is love. And when we understand that concept and we allow us to sit in the resonance of that concept, is to understand that every life is important. And it's not to say that we don't eat, like some people will eat animals, but it's about honoring the animal that gave its life and sacrificed its life for you to actually have that meat within your body. Same with the plant. Being thankful for the plant for giving its life for you to be able to nourish yourself and to sustain yourself, to be living. So it's about understanding that, and understanding that the only reason we're disconnected is because there has been programming to say that we should be disconnected. And when we are disconnected in this way, it doesn't feel good in the essence of who we are, because we are not meant to be lone wolves. We are meant to be tribal communities. We are meant to be communities. When we help each other grow and we foster growth and we raise our children together, we raise the collective, and we raise the vibration and the frequency of the earth, of love and light. And that is what we are intended to do, understanding that we have polarity on this planet, and that's okay. And that's what's meant to be there, to shape the light and to shape the good. So we need the duality, we need polarity, we need to be able to have that, but it's about honoring everything for what it is and for what it isn't. And when we understand that animals are one of the most sacred things that we have on this planet, is to understand that their beauty, their innocence, everything. We have so much to learn from children and from animals if we would just take the time and step back and see what they are focusing on. They're not worried about how to get to work tomorrow. They're not worried about having to pay their vehicle off or pay their mortgage or anything of that nature. We can learn so much in order to be in the presence and to be in the presence of nature and to understand what we were truly designed to be on this planetary system.
Yes, yes, yes. For getting a little bit, Roxanne, into going a little bit up, going a little bit higher. Let's talk about what's above, let's say. What's above and what's that invisible and what's the connection that we have. I call and I invite a lot of different energies and different beings that are perhaps not here. Do you work with them? How do you work with them?
Absolutely. I am always connected to our spiritual guides, our animal guides, the ascended masters, all the archangel. I am very connected, and I believe that we are all connected. It's just about tapping into that and allowing that to come down to our crown and to be able to be absorbed by us, because we have a lot of noise and a lot of distractions that doesn't allow those messagings to come through. And people will be like, oh, wait, I got this weird thought. I don't even know where this thought came from. I don't even know who just said that. Like, that was incredible. Well, it's because it's being channeled. You're getting channeled information, right? So I think it's important because they carry the wisdom and they have decided not to come back to this earthly plane of this planetary system, that they've ascended to a point where they're now able to guide us and to provide us wisdom and to understand that we're not here to take life seriously. We're meant to experience life in all of its colors, all of its flavors, and to understand that we are all going to undergo trials and tribulations. No life form is perfect, but it's to understand that we need to be able to embrace it. They don't care if we have a tumultuous journey or a smooth ride. They're just happy that we are experiencing life and all that it is. But in that sense, is to be in alignment with who we are as we are doing this, because that is our soul's mission, is to be in alignment with who we truly authentically are and not what we were told that we should be.
For people that perhaps are interested, but they have never been in contact with their guides, with other energy beings, what would you share with them?
Absolutely. So anyone can do this. Anyone has the capability to do this, but it's about really quieting the mind and being still in the moment. And it doesn't mean, and when I say quieting the mind, doesn't mean that we don't have thoughts permeating through our intellectual body. A lot of people, that's impossible to do, but it's about being present in the moment. What do I need? And asking the right questions. What do I need to receive today? What do I need to know today? Where can you guide me? Not what, not how, not why, not when. Like, not when am I going to be successful, not any of those things, but what am I going to learn from this part of my journey, and being receptive to whatever comes our way, whatever we are receiving, and not trying to take it apart in our ego state and not trying to dissect it, but taking it for exactly for what it is. If we are being given a message, that message is held in sacredity, and that message was gifted to us because we asked for it. So then it's up to us to follow the action according to that. So it's just about tuning in and tapping in. You can do meditation. Some people do journeying. Some people do percussion. It can be any way. Some people smoke a little bit of marijuana where they feel like they can open their senses up a little bit more and they can interconnect. Some people do a little bit more extravagant things or go into more of herbal medicines or hallucinogenics, but there's always a way that we can connect with our spiritual guides. They're always there wanting to give us information. We just need to ask the right questions in order to receive it.
Yes, it's interesting. A lot of times I tell people that, and I think that this is true for everyone, we are never alone. And I always say, wherever I'm going with my entourage.
Yeah.
They are always here with me.
Paparazzi.
And it's about understanding that they are there, and it's about us. It's about me allowing that connection. It's about me, as you're saying, to call on them, invite them, believe that they are there, um, and having that connection, asking the questions. And it's not, in my experience, when asking questions, whether that is towards myself or towards my guides, it's not about the answer. It's about the question, and it's about the opening to the energy in terms of that.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions that we were ever led to believe is that we were alone in this universe and that there weren't others that surrounded us. And even those that have religious beliefs, is to understand that we are never alone. We are in an incredible paradigm of unconditional love in all aspects, and energy never dies. So if we know that from a scientific perspective and we know that from a religious perspective, that means where does the energy go? So if we can actually put that into our actual thinking pattern and to understand that that was a conditioned belief, that our energy doesn't die. So there is an element of where it does need to travel to. So that means that we do have spiritual guides, we do have animal guides, as energy never dies, and that we are able and that they are wanting to connect with us. And they demonstrate unconditional love for all. There is no judgment, there is no anything of that nature. It's all about pure love. And they're actually pretty comical, a lot of them. A lot of them have a lot of good wit to them, but it's because they don't, nothing is serious. We are here thinking that this matrix is supposed to be taken seriously, but it's not. We're meant to enjoy the ride and all that it is and all that it isn't.
Mm. Yeah, I love always understanding, and of course, this is the duality in which we're living here and the polarity, understanding that I'm here to experience, that I'm here throughout lifetimes to be part of the oneness experience in itself, to experience life, and that I'm more the one that is just doing that. It's not so much that I'm the doer. Yes, I'm doing stuff, but it's about I am the experiencer of all of that. And keeping that as well makes, as you're saying, that things are not as serious as, like as I believe that they are in my head, because it's like, well, all that I'm doing is just experiencing. And it's like, oh, well, yes, that was that experience. That was hard. That was intense. That was challenging. Cool experience. So it's just making that shift.
And allowing our emotions to flow through, because obviously we're having this incredible human experience and we have over 27 emotions, and being able to flow in between all of them, and not all of them are going to be positive, but we have to allow our good emotions to come through, and we have to be able to laugh about things, we have to be able to cry about things, we have to be able to feel joy, that joie de vivre, we have to be able to be happy within the essence of who we are. And when we think about witnessing our journey and being the observer, it really removes that sense that you have to carry the weight on your shoulders, because you don't have to carry the weight on your shoulders and you don't have to carry it alone, let alone, right? We are here as a community, here to help one another, but it's about building community and not thinking that we have to do everything on an individual basis. So when we talk about witnessing our journey, we talk about just being the observer. When's the last time you allowed yourself to be your inner child? When's the last time you allowed yourself to belly laugh and to be pulling little pranks or whatever you did as a child that really gave you true fulfillment and joy? When was the last time that you actually allowed yourself to experience your emotions? Experience everything that you are and not criticize yourself within the judgments of who you are. To love and accept yourself unconditionally in all aspects.
Beautiful. So, Roxanne, for those that are going through some challenges and they are potentially realizing like there's more to life than this, like, and they haven't never done anything like this, what are the things that you would recommend, at least to start with?
Honestly, I think accountability is the biggest component throughout our journey. When we take accountability for our life and we take accountability for our life choices, because we cannot fix anything that we don't know about. We can't head in a direction that we have no pathway to. And just like what we kind of spoke about earlier, is that we need to be able to sit with ourselves and have that self-reflection, have that introspective and that self-assessment, and say, what am I feeling right now? What do I need to know today? What do I need to feel today? I need to feel love and compassion today. Okay, allow me to feel love and exude love and compassion today throughout the entirety of my day today. Oh, I need to feel sad today. Allow myself to feel sad today and allow that emotion to flow through, but understand that our negative emotions are not there to help hold us in imprisonment, right? And to be able to flow through that. So it's about taking accountability and being cognizant and being in tuned with your intuition and your instinctiveness. What do I need today to feel fulfilled? Not what do I need tomorrow, not what do I need in a week, what do I need in this moment to be present and to be fulfilled?
Mm, yes, and as I said, that I believe that that self-responsibility, that accountability that you say, and on top of that, I think that, and as you mentioned before, like not being a lone wolf, being in community, being able to actually get support, being able to find, whether that is friends, family members, a coach, a mentor, a guide, whatever that is, to be able to actually understand, like, we can do this together, and how each of us operate, which is different. Some of us might need more hands-on, like someone being there, like, hey, are you doing this? Hey, are you, like, and some others are like, well, I can do this a little bit with less accountability from another person. Um, how do you see this playing out with people?
Yeah, honestly, I think that we're fooling ourselves if we think that we don't need mentors or guides throughout our life. It's like traveling the world without a map or without a navigation system when we go into our spirituality or any type of facet that we're really interested in exploring. Is understand that we always need guidance. And as we are students, we are teachers, and as teachers, we are students, and we are always learning from one another. And depending on someone's learning style, I never mentor in a sense that I'm teaching something. I allow them to have that self-reflection by asking them the right questions for them to ask themselves. And when they're able to sit in that reflection, like, oh, wait, why do I feel that way? Or why do I think that way? It allows them to do their own work. I'm not doing the work for them. I'm guiding them in order for them to do the work themselves. The accountability is on the client. The accountability is on the soul that is looking for that purpose and is on this journey. All we have to do is hold that regard and be able to guide them in the right direction so that they can receive the responses and the answers that they need in order to move forward throughout their life. Because if we can't create the path for them, then they stay stagnant and they're not moving anywhere. But if we can show them the path, or we can create a path for them, with them, it's just that much more powerful, where they actually feel like they're being supported.
Mm, yes, yes. And for the ones that perhaps are resonating with you and what you're sharing, what are the ways that they could potentially work with you?
Oh, absolutely. So anyone can connect with me through my website at www.roxannechaput.com. And all of my social media handles are under that name, so they can send me a message and I'd be honored to guide them.
Beautiful. And starting to get towards the end of this conversation, what is one thing that you wish everyone in the world knew?
About me or just about everything?
In general, about life.
You know what? Just believe in yourself and enjoy the journey. That is what we are intended to do. And I know life can seem so serious at times, but when we get through it and when we move through it, we realize that there is beauty to be learned in everything. And to just be able to take everything for what it is and not for what it signifies, and not for it to define us. And when we allow ourselves to be in our intuitive and our instinctual presence, we're then able to really truly flourish within us and have that empowerment to be the most incredible soul that we soulfully desired for our life.
Mm, Beautiful. And before we start to wrap up, is there any other message that is coming through at this moment that you would like to share?
I think the most important thing that's really coming across today is just to love yourself. And we're always so easy in wanting to give our love to others, that we also need to be giving that same unconditional love to ourselves. And that it's important that we love all the encapsulations of who we are. So just to love yourself exactly the way you are. There was nothing, and there is nothing made by mistake on this planet.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for your time sharing with us, Roxanne. For everyone listening, if, as I said, if you resonate with what Roxanne has been sharing, if you resonate with perhaps her work, go and check it out. We'll have all of the links on the show notes so that you can easily access it. And if you resonate with anything as well, and you already experienced some of this, we'd love to know what's your experience been like. Just share with us about what we've been talking about. So thank you for listening, everyone, and thank you, Roxanne, once again for your time, for your medicine, and for everything that you've been sharing.
Thank you so much. It has truly been an honor. Thank you, Brian.
Well, so thanks, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
What did you like the most about this episode? Take a moment to think about what change you can make in your life today.
Share your conscious action on social media using #ConsciousAction and tagging @ConsciousActionNZ so we can celebrate your impact on the world and create a ripple effect.
One easy action we would love for you to take right now is to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. This will help us get these messages out into the world and inspire more people to take conscious action in their own lives, contributing to the better world we hope for.